Well, folks, what we're going to show you today is how to build a gun rack. I needed a gun rack for my old truck, and all I could find for sale was little cheap plastic things. Well, I'd purchased one, and they would fit right up in here and right down there inside that rubber. The thing of it is, it's made out of cheap plastic, and as soon as we put pressure on one, bought one for my son, as soon as we put pressure on it, heck, one of them snapped. I had to go buy another one. So I decided I'll make one out of steel. So what I did is I measured from up above my window to this point right down here. Now this particular truck, this is an old 80 something model Chevrolet. It was like 23 and a half inches. But I wanted to go all the way down to this point right here because I didn't want to, worry about screws going all the way through it. Plus, I wanted to be able to hold more than two guns. And two guns would just fit right up here. That's how them plastic ones do. So I got me some flat stock. This is about 3/16 thick, maybe an inch wide. And I saw that I had a curve up here. So I cut my piece and bent the end of it to where it would fit right up in there. And as you can see, it pretty much matches the contour here, and it comes right down there where I'm going to bolt it. So that is getting that part done. So we got our uprights done, and now then I'll show you the hooks. Here's an example of the plastic ones they make. So what I did is I decided I'd use this as a pattern. And let me just set this right here for a moment. And I cut some pieces a little over 9 inches long, heated them up, and bent them around a piece of pipe, because what I wanted to do is I wanted to match that inside semicircle in there. Also, I wanted the ends flared out just a little bit, but you don't want it perfectly straight up and down because it makes it a little more difficult to get your weapon in and out. And walk back here in the garage again. Say hi, Daryl. Hi, Daryl. The next thing I did is I took a piece of pipe that happened to be the same diameter as the curve inside the plastic gun rack. I clamped the pipe in here. Let me do that. Here, Darryl, operate the vise. Okay. What I did then is I laid a piece of steel in right here, and then I tack welded another piece of steel onto my vise so that whenever I put pressure to make my bend, it would hold. Now this is the way I actually did it. See where it holds right there? I applied the torch to the metal here and slowly bent it right around the pipe. Okay? So that was making the hooks themselves. Then what we did is we laid this up in the vise. My other brother Daryl here, he's taking care of that. And we laid these hooks out in place to match the plastic one that's over yonder. I'm going to get that plastic one. And what we did, and we rounded the edges of this, as you can, hopefully you can see this right here. We rounded off so we could lay them in just like this. And we used the plastic one as our guide as far as spacing, how close and how far apart they need to be. So here's one that we've already welded up. Don't make fun of my welding, by golly it holds. And what we're going to do next is we're going to lay this one right up here, line up the ends down here, and make sure that we clamp and weld the hooks on this piece to match. Then what I plan to do, which I'll show you here in just a minute, is wrap all of this with electrical tape to protect the weapons from the raw metal. Now, here I have them clamped in place. Going to tack weld them here in a minute. And as you can see, he's holding the first one we welded up in place so that we could align it properly. Right down here you can see he's got the ends of it where his thumb is, got them lined up just right. So of course I don't want to show welding with the camera because somebody's going to have to hold this without a hood, and that wouldn't work too good. So give me just a minute, we'll tack this together. Now that I've got them just tacked in place, what I did is I rotated it 90 degrees so that I could weld from the top straight down flat instead of trying to weld uphill or downhill or sideways. It makes for a lot easier welding. Well, here is the finished product. Here's the gun racks in place. They're screwed at the top and the bottom with the type of screws that you would use on metal roofing. Let's see, where is it at? Right there. See if I can zoom in on it for you. Yeah, these are little screws here. They're about 1 inch long, but by the time you stick it through that gun rack itself, it only protrudes maybe a 1/2 inch, if that much, on into the truck body. So we didn't have to worry about it, you know, busting through the outside. The gun racks are good and solid. I can shake the whole truck, so it definitely ought to hold whatever we mount on there or hang on there. They were wrapped with black tape, electrician's tape, after we took a file and made sure there was no slag in the way or anything like that, because you don't need any sharp points to scratch your gun barrels or stocks. And they took about 1 1/3 rolls of 3/4 inch wide electrician's tape. They were 60 foot rolls, and I hope you learned a little something. Now it would have been easier to bolt those pieces on instead of weld them, but me going four-wheeling in a truck and rough terrain and all that, I didn't want to worry about nuts and bolts working loose. Besides that, then you'd have the bolt head sticking through. At a minimum, you'd have a carriage bolt head sticking through where the gun be trying to slide up and down. And like I said, you can build it with nuts and bolts, but I preferred to weld it because by golly, it's there and it ain't going nowhere. Well, I hope you learned something. Make sure you click like on the video there, and maybe even the subscribe button. Got a lot more coming. Sadie, say bye. Well, I had to make a slight modification with a good old trusty crescent wrench. I had followed exactly the pattern on the store-bought gun rack as far as the curvature where the gun actually sits, and the way it's made is just a little bit too snug. So what I did is I just took, because it's made out of steel, I just took crescent wrench and just bend it out just a little bit, and now everything fits like it's supposed to. Remember, if you made it, you can fix it. Thanks a lot.